be very brief. We have two authors tonight on Gutsy living. Those kind of people that have a dream. Most of us just keep doing our regular work until we're retired, and then we're maybe too tired to do it. But these two women, Sylvia Marsh is standing, and Jill Sales is sitting down. They both had the guts to take off from their ordinary lives and go off. In the case of Sonia, sorry.
That's okay.
In the case of Sonia, she and her husband uprooted their kids, sold everything off here in Orange County, and went to Belize. I think it was for an indefinite period, but it ended up being about a year. Right. And then when she came back, she has a website which she has a weekly contest where people can write in about their Gutsy story. And Jill was one of the ones that responded to that and won a contest one time. And she now has her own book. Sonia's book is Freeways to Flip-Flops. And then Jill's is coming out hopefully next month. So even though we won't be able to get an autographed copy tonight, if you're interested in one afterwards, so she can take your name and an email address, then we can make arrangements so that you can get a copy afterwards. But her book is telling all about taking her 4 young children out of school and into a van and going across the entire United States on the Great American Field Trip. So with that, I'll turn the podium over first to Sonia.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming this evening. And thank you, Denise, for the wonderful introduction. Before I get started, I just want to make sure that all of you have filled out a raffle ticket, because I'm going to give away 1 copy of the book at the end of my presentation before Jill starts talking. So the raffle tickets are back there if you haven't filled one out. As Denise told you, Jill will be speaking after me. She's another Gutsy lady, and we met, as you mentioned, through the My Gutsy Story. And if any of you ever have a Gutsy story that you'd like to submit, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm always looking for new stories every week. So, my memoir, Freeways to Flip-Flops, is, as Denise mentioned, we chucked everything in our life, sold our house, sold our cars, sold all the furniture inside the house, and my husband and I decided that we wanted to move to Belize. So before you wonder why did we do this, are we absolutely crazy, we had many reasons for this. First of all, we moved from this 5-bedroom house to this hut on stilts in one day with 3 sons aged 16, 13, and 10, and they had never seen this place. So why did we do that? Well, we had many reasons. One reason was we wanted to escape materialism in Orange County. We didn't agree with a lot of parents who, when their child turns 16 years old, thinks that it's normal to buy them a brand new BMW, a truck. Not that, every parent does that, but some do buy their kids a new truck or something. We wanted to get our kids away from the entitlement attitudes of children in Orange County. And we wanted to get them away from Christmas, where you have so many presents under the tree that the kids just start to take everything for granted. They don't even appreciate anything. Not that it's necessarily what we were doing, but other parents, and we didn't want to be the same, and grandparents sometimes spoil grandkids, but we just wanted to get away. My husband was tired of the long commutes on the gridlock freeways to Los Angeles, where he was driving almost every day. And he wasn't spending any time with our sons. And we longed for a simple life. So we wanted to escape to a Caribbean island. The only problem was that every island is very expensive, And we couldn't find anywhere that we really wanted to, we could afford to move to. My husband wanted adventure, and I was looking for paradise. But we didn't want to wait until retirement. And one of the reasons was because my mom died at 57, and my husband's father died at a young age, and they never got to enjoy retirement. So we decided we wanted to do things while we still could, because you will always find excuses in life not to do what your passion is. So, had it not been for a leaking toilet in my house, we may never have discovered Belize. Belize was introduced to me by a Scottish plumber who came to my house to fix the toilet. And since I was born and raised in Europe, we started talking about where do you want to move to when you retire? And he said Belize. I'd never heard of Belize. I said, where is it? Well, Belize is south of Mexico, and you probably can't see it on the map. It's the yellow country. It's tiny. It has a population of about 280,000 people. It's south of Mexico. So when the plumber left, I spent hours that day looking on, researching on Google whether he was really telling me the truth that Belize was affordable. He told me that we could buy oceanfront property for about $50,000, and that we could buy an island for $100,000. So I was all excited. My husband came home from Los Angeles, and we just sat there together and spent the whole evening looking at our future dream place to move to. So the thing was that our kids didn't believe that we were serious about this. They thought we were joking. And one of the reasons we wanted to move was our 16-year-old, our oldest son, was getting in trouble in high school. And things were gradually getting worse, and we knew that we had to take action. Instead of sending him away, we decided to move as a family. So my husband and I took a 10-day scouting trip without the children to figure out where we wanted to live in Belize. And there were 3 different parts that interested us. So, of course, there's a beautiful island of Ambergris Caye, but that was a little bit too expensive, so we decided to move to northern Belize, just by the border of Mexico. After a few days, my husband moved 3 months before us, and we rented, actually, the hut that I showed you, because there was nothing else available. So, when my husband sent me his first email, this is what he told me. I'll read you an excerpt. It's called The Hut. I think we made a mistake, Duke said, calling me after the first night in the hut. What do you mean? My heart started racing. Don't panic. Duke knew me well. It's just the hut. It's infested with bugs. You should see my legs. I look like I have chicken pox. Alec's gonna freak out, I said. A scorpion landed on my pillow during the night. You're kidding, right? This didn't sound like my husband, the man who took me camping and got upset when I asked, where's the tent? Are they dangerous, I asked, concerned for our kids. Evelyn said they sting, but they don't kill you. Noticing my lack of response, Duke added, the good news is mosquitoes only come out after the rain. Normally they stay in the jungle behind our hut. When Duke described our water supply, I thought he was exaggerating. We only have cold water, and it stinks of sulfur from the well. The shower barely trickles, the pressure's too low. I hope I can fix it. Try to find another house that's less primitive. Carlos said there's nothing in Consejo Shores but the huts. So that was our first introduction. And of course I was scared to take the children there. So after, when we moved, the children and I, our kids wouldn't go out of the hut. They were kind of scared. They just stayed inside until one day they started to explore the jungle. And my 13-year-old middle son managed to touch a poisonwood tree. we'd never heard of a poisonwood tree. His face turned beet red, his eyes got so swollen that he couldn't open them, and his entire body was covered with blisters. So we took him to the local hospital, and then I questioned, how could I put my son's health at risk by taking him to Belize? What if the doctors weren't qualified? What if hospitals didn't use sterilized equipment? What about AIDS? So it took him about 5 weeks to heal, and his hand is just one part, his whole entire body was like that. And this was when it was almost healed, so you can imagine what it was like before. For his 14th birthday, we didn't have any presents, so that Christmas tree thing, everything gone. Instead, we said, we're taking you to see the Mayan ruins of Lamani. So you can imagine Orange County kids on their 14th birthday, and this is what you get. But to be honest with you, that's a memory that he'll never forget. He talks about it to this day. And other things that we did is my kids started snorkeling, and my husband is very competitive and likes to find antique bottles, and there were quite a lot of antique pottery, antique things that we found in the shallow seabed, so it became a competition to see who could find the most. Oh wait, this is the Mayan ruins. This is the Lamani Mayan ruins for the birthday. And these are the kind of antique bottles that we discovered. And then when it came to schools, well, Belize is an English-speaking country, which is why we picked it, and we had read about the schools prior to leaving, and they said that they had a 97% literacy rate. So we moved to where we were told the schools were really good. And over in Belize, you can buy the books early during the summer vacation. So we bought the English book because that was the only book they had. And it was the 9th grade book. And when my middle son, Alec, the same one with the poison wood, opened the book, he screamed. He said, "No! How to tell time and how to put ing at the end of a word? You must be kidding. What have you done to my future education?" So we panicked. We had absolutely no idea how we were going to, a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old, what were we going to do? Well, fortunately, we met some other Americans, and they told us about Keystone National High School, which is an internet program which a lot of kids can take online when they live in a foreign country. And so we signed up for that, and my youngest son, who was 10, could go to a private school on the island, which is not where we were living, where they had Canadian and American teachers. So we signed him up for that school, which meant we had to move. But to be honest with you, the hut was really primitive, and it was a retirement community. There were no children. So my kids had nobody to interact with, and since they weren't going to go to school, the next best thing was to move to where there were more people. So we moved to the island of Ambergris Caye, and we took our dog with us, Cookie, and in Belize, the dog gets to sit next to the pilot. I mean, this is a small puddle jumper, and this is Cookie on the plane. It looks like she's sitting in a van, but it's actually an airplane. And we went over to Ambergris Caye and purchased a house, which, since we were going to spend the rest of our lives there, we had to have somewhere. So this was a house which was bigger and not primitive like the first one, although we still didn't have running water. We had to rely upon rain, and when we first moved there was only an inch in the cistern, which can hold 36 inches. So there was no rain, there was no water. So every day we were just hoping that it would rain. And thankfully, we did get some rain, but we also, the caretaker of the property was able to get some of the other people's rainwater into our cistern. So we actually stole water from our neighbors, but they weren't there. They were just Americans who came over once or twice a year. So that was okay. And what was nice about living in this house was there was a young couple, Juan, Teresa, and their little boy, who's 4 years old, little Juan. Juan and Teresa were 21 and 20, and they had a 4-year-old. My sons adopted little Juan as their little brother. This is him. And this is my youngest son, who became really good friends with little Juan. And they taught this little boy how to speak English and how to read, because he spoke Spanish at home. So this was kind of a new thing that, you know, Orange County kids get away. They focus on other things, helping other people. And when we took our kids to school, it was by boat because there were no roads. So this is the beautiful ocean there, and then we would just take him to school, and we would see dolphins swimming next to us. And at school, he had to wear uniform. Oh, this isn't the one. Sorry about that. But after school, they would fish, and we didn't have television. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. So we were relying upon, you know, nature to entertain us. And one thing that really helped my children was they learned something important, that education is a privilege, not a right. And the way they learned this was through Juan and Teresa. We invited them over for dinner one evening, and Juan, who spoke pretty good English, was telling my boys, you know what, when I was 12, I had to quit school and work in the sugarcane fields because I have 11 brothers and sisters, and my parents couldn't afford the books. Now, the books you pay for, but education is free, and that's the problem, is that most parents can't pay for the books, so the kids have to work in the sugarcane fields. And I saw the expressions on my boys' faces, and they finally understood how lucky they were to get a good education. Our family grew closer in Belize, which was one of the reasons why we left. Our 16-year-old started to help, you know, his brothers and entertain one another. They were playing outside, and they were no longer interested. There was nothing to buy. I mean, it wasn't like there were malls or theaters or anything. So another thing is food was difficult to get, and you couldn't get what you wanted because a store might not carry it. So we didn't have fresh milk, we had powdered milk. And that was one thing that my kids were longing for when they came back, to see them say, oh, I really want a glass of fresh milk. What a change from what you would hear other kids say. So anyway, the kids, as I mentioned before, started fishing and just enjoying nature, entertaining themselves, just standing on a palm tree. And this was a beautiful starfish because everything is, you can see through the water and it's shallow, and we just picked that one up. And my husband obviously was had more time with the kids, and started spending more time doing things together. Now you may be wondering, how did we make a living? Well, that is something that we made a huge mistake. We thought that we could go to Belize and start a business the way you would in the US, and we soon realized that things don't work the same way, especially not on a small island. We tried several different businesses. We tried a property management business. That's when things started going wrong. The locals didn't want us to compete with them. So one day, and I'm just telling you what happened. Our boat started sinking when we were the family going into town, and my son had an old sailboat that he was trying to fix, and some anchor had been cut off and it was drifting away, and this happened the same day. So we figured it couldn't be coincidence. And one of the reasons is that my husband started a website trying to help tourists, since we were doing property management, showing them where you could buy less expensive food, which boats cost less and stuff like that, which of course the locals didn't want us to do. So that didn't work out, and we also tried another business, but with electricity not working all the time and the internet not working, there's no way you could work for an American company like a legal transcription business. They wouldn't want you working for them. So those two ideas didn't work out. However, as far as our family, what really truly happened is that we grew so close together because we relied upon one another. So when we moved back after 1 year, basically I realized something that I will read to you in the last part of my book. All of us, my sons included, have learned to take risks in life, to embrace adventure and to accept different ways of thinking about life's challenges. And although Belize failed to live up to my cliched vision of paradise, it taught me that paradise is not a place, but a state of being. I discovered my Caribbean paradise within my family, a gift far richer than I could have imagined possible, and for that I shall remain eternally grateful to Belize. Thank you. I think, I don't know if you want questions or if you want to move on to Jill or do the raffle or...
Let's ask you questions.
Let's ask you questions
Would you like
first, and then Jill.
Jill, would you mind getting the ball, please? Thank you. So, does anybody have a question? Yep.
Were you still able when you came back? Did you have enough money to be able to
No.
buy something?
No. Well, yes, we were able to, because we sold the house in Belize. And actually we were lucky because we sold it for what we had purchased it for. Thank you. And, but you know what was wonderful was that I didn't need a nice house anymore. We've downsized twice since coming back. And my boys have never asked for anything. Like you know how all the kids today have iPhones and all that? They don't want that. They don't have that. And they they don't have a car. Ride a bicycle, one of them. They don't beg us for things, but they do want a good education. And my oldest son, who is not doing well before we left, graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering and is working now. And my middle son, the poisonwood tree, the one who said, "You're messing up my life," my education, he is going to become a doctor. So, and the youngest one, who I think Belize changed him, because when he came back to Orange County, he said, "You know, Mom, I don't fit in this high school anymore." And he actually begged to go to a military school, and he has enlisted in the National Guard and wants to now to get deployed in the transfer to the Army. So all three of them did really well after this experience. So, yeah.
How long ago was this that you were there?
We came back in 2005. And the reason it's taken this long is because I had to learn how to write. I kept a journal in Belize, but I had to take classes and writing. I used to think you could write a book in a year, and it finally occurred to me that only people who've been writing all their life can possibly write a book in a year. I had to learn the craft of writing, so that's why. Yeah?
Why did you come back after only 1 year?
Because we couldn't get a business going. And we did not expect those issues that we had in Belize. We were very naive. We honestly thought we could start no problem, because we went in with a card called the Qualified Retired Person. After the age of 45, you can go into Belize with a QRP card, and once you have that, as long as you hire Belizeans, you're allowed to work. So that's what was our plan. So, yeah. Yes?
First of all, I would really see this as a good thing.
Oh.
But would you with all your sons going to school, graduating, getting your whole lives, and you sort of know what is out there now, would you do it again?
Yes. You know, I would definitely, and I tell you, I didn't talk much about my 16-year-old, but he was really going down the wrong path. And it was at the point where we really either had to ship him off or move, or to find another solution. And for me, because of all the other things that were going on with my husband being fed up with his job, and we wanted adventure and all this, I would do it again. And I'm ready for another adventure. The only problem is I don't have my kids anymore, so if I had to write another book, it would just be either me doing Peace Corps work in Africa or my husband and I doing something. So yeah, you're welcome to, please. So, yep.
Do you still keep in contact with the friends that you made out there?
Yes, I have one. Yes, we know a couple who live there. They're Romanian, and actually, she's a photographer on the island, does weddings, and then I've got a really good friend who moved back to Colorado. A lot of people who move to these tropical islands don't spend the rest of their lives there. You know, they end up staying there a year, 2 years, because they have the same problems we had, trying to get a business going. So it's kind of sad, you don't realize it, but that's the reality of it. I think the ideal is to go there and be a writer, and then you can sit at home and enjoy nature and write a book, and you have the best of both worlds. You're not competing with the locals.
If the electricity's working.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I think Jill has a wonderful story to share, and I think what we'll do is the raffle before she talks. Do you want to pick? I'll let you.
I don't want anything. Can I read it?
Yeah, you can read it.
Okay. Louis.
So,
Do you want to get it? Do you want me to give it to him now?
I'll do it. You can
Okay.
start yours. So, thank you so much. And here comes Jill. She has a wonderful story. Thank you.
Hello. I was born in Long Beach, by the way. So
It's like a homecoming.
Okay, so let's see.
Shall I take my? To take this out.
If you want this not to forget it, it doesn't.
Does it make a difference for you?
Yep. I'm not sure what's happening. What happened there?
Oh well. Thank you for coming. I am a mother of 4 kids. I'm married, but my husband doesn't have quite the travel bug that I do, and his job prevents him from being able to take extended time off. So my background